All right, my friends, as promised, another amazing video from Mrs. Dickey to help you with your math this week. So we are looking at those measures of tendency, those ways of looking at data and being able to analyze them. And those terms are your mean, median, mode, and range. So as always, I like to start off with mode because it's the one that I find comes most easily to students. And mode, if we look here at the top, mode means that it's the number that repeats the most often. So when we're looking for the mode, we want to go look through our data and we want to see if we see any numbers repeating themselves. So I'm going to look and I'm going to see if I see something. So right away I see there's a 5 here and a 5 here. So there's a repeating number. Does 16 repeat anywhere? Yes, there is. There are two 16s. There's one here and one here. Does 4 repeat anywhere? Nope. 27? Nope. 0? Nope. 1? Nope. 7? Nope. 22? No. So those are the only two repeating numbers. We've got the 5 and the 16. Well, the 5 repeats 2 times and the 16 repeats 2 times. And so because they're the same amount of repetitions, the same frequency, there's 2 5s and there's 2 6s, 16s, we can have a situation where there's more than one mode. So for this set of data, the mode is 5 and 16. Okay. There are circumstances where there will be, so if we had, for example, another 16 here, then 16 would be our mode and not the 5. And there are circumstances where there is no repeating number, and so if that's ever the case, if there's no number that repeats itself, you would say that there is no mode. But what you're just looking for is looking for those repeating numbers in the data, finding which one repeats the most, and you're writing that down as the mode. And as I said, this can be no numbers, one number, or more than one number, as long as they are tied. So that is the mode. The next one that I find is kind of simple for students is the median. And the median, if you ever think about it, is that the term shows up again when you're driving. If you have like concrete in between the roads, one for the traffic that's going one direction and the traffic that goes in the other direction, it's called a median. It's something in the middle of something. And so when we're looking at the median, it's the number in the middle when numbers are put in order. So what I find is the most common mistake is that kids forget this part, that we need to put these numbers in order. Okay, you can go from smallest to biggest or biggest to smallest. It doesn't matter because the middle is going to stay the same. And there is a circumstance of what happens when we have two numbers in the middle, but we'll get to that first. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to take this data and put it in order. Because if I do this right now, there are 10 numbers. So I've got these two numbers in the middle. If I add them together, divide by 2, we get a half. That would be the median there, but that's not actually the median. So let me just get rid of that for a second. We do need to put them in order, okay, because those are not in the middle. They're in the middle of the list, but they're not in the middle of the data set. So what we're going to do, and what I like to do, is I like to put those numbers in, and as I write them down, cross them out. So I know that I've got everything included. And I keep looking for the next smallest number. Okay, and if there's a repeat, you're going to write it in here twice. And the cool thing is if you forget a number, so for example, if I go straight to 22, we can squish things in or we can erase it and go backwards. Okay, so now I've got 16 two times. Go, 22, 27. Now one thing I do like to do is go back and check. So I've counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now I know that I have put all of my numbers in order and I've included them all because I've crossed them out as I wrote them and I've checked to make sure that I have 10 numbers in both sets. So now it's time to find the number in the middle. So this is a strategy I showed everybody in class is I take out pairs. So I take out the first and the last, first and the last, first and the last, first and the last. Just make sure you're doing pairs. Because what we have over here is we've eliminated 4 numbers. And here we've eliminated 4 numbers. That's how we know we have found the middle. In this situation, we have 2 numbers that are in the middle. And so when that happens, we need to add them together and divide by 2. So for me to find the median, I'm going to take my 5 and my 7. I'm going to add them together to get 12. Divide it by 2 and gets me 6. There are going to be times where it doesn't come out to a nice, neat, clean number, and because this is what we call statistics or data, we do want to get to that exact decimal place. So then you would want to open your calculator and say, for example, it was something like 5 plus 8 instead of 7. Hit that divide by 2 and record that decimal instead, okay? So calculators, for once, are welcome and encouraged for data because those numbers can get big and they can get into decimals. But that's how we find the median. We make sure numbers are in order from smallest to biggest. We find those numbers in the middle. If it's an odd number, so if there's 9 numbers, there's going to be 1 number in the middle. If it's an even set of numbers, then there's going to be 2 numbers in the middle, and you need to do that adding and dividing by 2. Okay, the next one we're going to talk about is the range. And so when we're looking at the range, we're talking about the difference between the highest number and the lowest number in the data. So that means we got to go look into our numbers and we got to figure out which one's the biggest and which one's the smallest. So in this circumstance, our smallest is the 0. Even though it is 0, it does count. You do need to look at it as a data set. And our biggest number here is 27. So now I'm going to take them. I'm going to take the biggest number and I'm going to subtract the smallest number, which is 0. 27 take away 0 is 27. So we have a range of 27 numbers, which means if we kind of put on a number, create a little number line for this one, it would have 27 numbers in between, which for this one, because our number at the bottom is 0, makes sense. But for example, it could shift and it could be something from 10 to 37, for example, and there's 27 numbers in between. But that's why we want to find out that range to figure out how far apart those numbers are split, if that's a big gap in between the numbers or the little ones. But remember, always find the highest or the largest number and the lowest number in the data and subtract them. Just make sure you put that big number first, okay? Or else you're going to end up in some negatives. And then the last one isn't so tricky, it just requires a lot of calculations, is the mean. So the mean is the average of a collection of numbers. And to find the average of something, we add all the numbers together and divide by how many numbers there are. So what we're going to be doing, here I'll switch colors so you can see it, is we're really going to be adding all these numbers together. 5 plus 16 plus 4 plus 27 plus 0 plus 1 plus 7 plus 16 plus 5 plus 22. We can do that on paper, we can do it in the calculator, and then we're going to take that answer and we're going to divide it by how many numbers there are. So I'm going to count. There's 1 number, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 numbers in our data set, so we're going to add all these numbers together, divide it by 10 to get our mean. So this is when those calculators come in handy. So the first thing you're going to do is we're going to add 5 plus 16 plus 4. So 5 plus 16 plus 4, 5 plus 16 plus 4 plus 27 plus 0 plus 1. Now I like my calculator here because you can see the numbers going across. So I've added 6 numbers so far. Then I've got 7 plus 16 plus 5 plus 22 equals. And this one I like because you can actually go back and say, okay, did I add 10 numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And did I put them all in correctly? It's a good, nice little check if you've got that feature on your calculator. So if we add them all together, we get the answer becomes 103. So we add those all together, it's 103. And now we're going to take that answer and divide it by 10. So now I'm going to go back to my calculator. I'm going to click dividing by 10. And there we go. We got that decimal. We don't want to work in remainders. So if you do your division on paper, you do need to know how to go into decimals, because when we're looking at what we call statistics or data, we do want very specific numbers, and remainders are not very clear for us about that. That's more of a sharing circumstance, not a statistics. So we do want to get to that decimal, which is again why I'm encouraging you to use that calculator. So for this set of data, it's 10, decimal 3 would give us, or 0.3 gives us our mean. So remember, when we're trying to find that mean, we're going to take all those numbers, add them all together, and then divide by how many numbers there are. So all you have to do is count 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up till you've figured out how many numbers you have. So hopefully that helps. We'll go back and quickly review. Mode is the number that appears or repeats the most often in a data set. Median is the number in the middle when those numbers are put in order. So make sure you've ordered them first. And remember, when there's 2 in the middle, add them together, divide by 2, and go to those decimal places using your calculator. Range is taking the largest number or the highest number from the data and the smallest or the lowest number and subtracting them. Just make sure you put that big number first. And finally, mean is the average of the numbers that are all together. So we're going to add them all together and divide by how many numbers there are. Hopefully this helps you with your homework this week.